Welcome from my slice of life, where I'm helping to bring more joy into yours. This is the My Slice of Life podcast. Hello, and a very warm welcome to you. This is the first full episode of the My Slice of Life podcast. Today's episode is all about challenging yourself. Haha. Do you challenge yourself? When's the last time you did set yourself a challenge? Would you like to, but maybe you're not sure where to start? Okay, you're in the right place. First of all, full disclosure right at the beginning here. Getting this podcast off the ground has been a bit of a challenge for me, I've got to tell you. I've been wanting to do it for ages. I bought the mic over 2 months ago. So, what's been holding me back? Okay, apart from setting up the blog, and I'll put a link to the blog in the show notes below. There'll also be a link to everything else, like, my YouTube channel, Patreon. If you are that way inclined, that would be lovely. But all the links will be there for you to go and have a look at all the other stuff. So I've been doing the blog and thinking, okay, I want to get the podcast up and running. So what's held me back? Really, I think just being worried. Worried about getting it wrong, worried nobody will listen to it. And I think really it's this fear that we have that holds us back. We have a fear of rejection, a fear of failure, maybe even a fear of success. I mean, oh my God, what if I do this and it's really successful? And then I've got to keep going, and then I've got to keep thinking of ideas, and that can just be mind-blowing. But first of all, let's have a look at some of the positives of setting ourselves challenges. Okay, we're not going to let all these bad ideas run away with us. Challenges. Why are they good for us? Because they are good for us. It's good for us to challenge ourselves. So what is good about it? When you get yourself out of your comfort zone, this confidence issue can really be something important. The feeling of accomplishment that you get when you achieve a goal that you've been aiming for. When there's that one thing that you thought was just too difficult, it was just out of your reach and you couldn't do it. But when you manage to do that, that can lead on to more success. That feeling of, well, I managed that. What can I do now? You know, that the sky's the limit sort of feeling. That buzz you get, you're like, God, I didn't think I'd do that, but I did it. That's what I'm talking about. You'll gain a belief in your abilities, and in the challenges that you take on can get bigger as you progress. Another reason that challenges are good for us, think of it as personal growth. Your skills will grow. Your knowledge grows. Your experience will grow. Even if you don't fully succeed, don't worry about it. Because what you've gained from just attempting that challenge is going to be worth it. And it's going to be worth a hell of a lot more than not trying at all. So another reason they're going to be good for us is developing resilience. That ability to deal with difficulties, obstacles, that ability improves. Think about it. If you've set yourself a challenge and you hit that bump in the road, because you're going to, we always do, you've got to think to yourself, do I keep going or do I throw in the towel? Well, you can throw in the towel if you want, but where does that get you? What do you learn? It's by keeping going through the rough parts that makes you stronger. We know that. Sometimes it's not easy, but this resilience that we can develop, that's what keeps us going. Okay, there's a lot more reasons there are, but that's my main ones. So far so good. We know challenges are good for us. So why don't we just do it? Why don't we just get on with it? A main one, and I think I've sort of alluded to it, a main one I think is this fear of failure. If you, for example, you're out and about and you see a family on an outing, watch them. Not in a weird way, but just, observe. The kids, if there's a new experience to try, the kids will go for it. They'll try it. It's the adults that hang back. They're the ones looking nervous, maybe even looking around to see who's watching them. We are afraid to fail. And at some point, I think we really just have to say, to hell with it. Just give it a go. And see if it doesn't work out. So what? You've tried. You've learned. And I think that's worth a lot. And I think sometimes we need to be reminded that just that learning is really valuable. Okay, so another point I think is this comfort zone. We all have our own comfort zone, what we are comfortable with. And stepping out of that, it is unsettling and it feels uncomfortable. For some people, their comfort zone is really quite wide. There's a lot of things they can take on, a lot of things they're happy to try. For other people, just sticking with the familiar, sticking with what they know, it's easier for them, and the thought of stepping out of that is just a nightmare and they don't want to do it. Another big thing I think that holds us all back is just self-confidence. If you don't have the confidence in your abilities within your own comfort zone that I was just talking about, then it's really not likely that you're going to push the boundaries and try new things, is it? And I think a big part of this as well is this comparing ourselves to other people. And I know, we're all on some sort of social media, whether we like it or not. Most of us really are. Even podcasts, I think. I listen to podcasts all the time. And I know now that I've started this one, I'm going to really have to fight this urge to think, they do that better and they do that better. But then I'm going to just say to myself, you know what? I'm just starting. And I will learn and I will get better. So do the same. Give yourself, I've heard this term, give yourself some grace. And I think that's a good term to use. Don't be so hard on yourself. The confidence, don't let it hold you back. Now here's one I think that holds back some people. It's time. Doing something new takes more time than doing things we're familiar with. And not everybody has that time necessarily. And also, not everybody wants to make that time. It comes down to priorities. It was a priority for me to get a blog started, and let me tell you, that was a challenge. I have contacted the support people so many times. How do I do this? How do I do that? But I'm getting there. I'm learning. To me, that's important. I'm learning. But that was one of my priorities. I wanted to get that up and running. Other people, they just have different priorities, and the challenges that you and I might think, oh, why don't they try this and why don't they try that? It's just not important to them. So what's important to you? And there are some people as well who just don't like taking risks. It's as simple as that. Maintaining the normal is just fine with them. They don't want to take risks. And I think at this point it's careful to realise that can be used as an excuse. So be honest with yourself. If there's something that you want to do and you're putting it off, is it because it feels uncomfortable? Is it because you genuinely feel that's a risk not worth taking? Or is that an excuse? So be honest with yourself and see exactly where your sticking blocks are. Why aren't you taking on this challenge? Okay, so we know taking on challenges is good for us. We know some of the reasons why we don't take them on. And there will be more. I'm just giving a brief list of, the main points as I see them. But obviously there are more, because we're all different and we're all going to have our own reasons. So what strategies now can we use to help us overcome our hesitation or even fear of these challenges? So the first strategy that I want to offer you is start small. Okay? Set yourself small goals to start with. Think of, when we're talking about the comfort zone, think of these small goals that will only slightly take you out of your comfort zone. There's no point setting a gigantic goal. There's a huge leap away from your comfort zone and it's just going to be too much. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't ask anybody else to do it. So start small. If you have a big goal, right? I don't know, you want to write a book, whatever your big goal is, break it down into smaller steps. Write it down. I'm a big list writer. Write it down, break it down into as many steps as you can. And then by gradually exposing yourself to the new challenges and seeing yourself succeed with the smaller goals, you build your confidence and you build your belief in yourself that you're capable of taking on the bigger challenges. But it all starts with baby steps. So again, keep it small. You've got a big goal, break it down into these small steps and just work on one by one. Like that old saying, one day at a time, one goal at a time. Keep them small. Another thing you can do is change the way you see the challenge. If you see it as something that's impossible or just an opportunity for failure, for example, you've got to tell yourself, no, this is an opportunity to learn or just try something new. And not everybody gets that. So when you think about it, you're actually lucky if you get to take on a challenge. Think of it as a way to gain new skills or even just to have a bit of fun. If you can change the way you think about this kind of thing and the way that you see challenges, then you actually see it as it's an open door. You have a real chance of trying something, learning something and developing, and jump at it, go for it. And linked to that, I would say, is to see the challenge as a process of learning. If you can see that mistakes that you make, if we're doing something new, we're going to make mistakes. If we can see them as like they're not a reflection on us as a person, right? So, I mean, doing this podcast, God knows I've made 100 mistakes already, but that's not a reflection on me. It's an opportunity for me to learn and develop. You have to remember, mistakes make you better. Think of it this way, the more mistakes you make, the better you're going to be in the long run. Okay, the next strategy I want to come to is quite a biggie. I want you to try and visualise yourself successfully completing the challenge. Make a mental picture of this success and make it big, make it clear, and keep doing it. That's important. If you've ever heard a successful person talk about how they do it, quite often you'll hear that they say that. They'll say something like they saw themselves achieving it first. And when you get that mental image, that's a big, big step. Try that first. Try visualising it. Like I say, make it big, make it clear, and keep doing it. Another strategy, and the last one I have for you at the moment, is to get support. Is there anyone close to you who can encourage you? Is there anybody you can share your worries with? We were talking about that fear of failure earlier on. Is there anybody you can talk to about that? Is there online support that you can use? And whatever you do, don't listen to doomers. Okay, chances are there will be somebody who's going to come and say, oh, I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't try that, or I don't know, maybe that's too much for you. Don't listen to them. Okay, do not listen. Chances are that they're just too scared to try and do what you're doing. Or maybe they'll be jealous. Might even be jealous of your newfound confidence to try something new. Don't listen to these people. They're not going to help you. So whatever strategy or strategies you use, remember, this is a continual process, okay? There is no pass or fail. Celebrate every win, no matter how small. Learn from every mistake and keep going. That's the biggie. Just keep going. I hope you found today's show useful and that you can take something away from it. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to coming back next week with a new topic. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the My Slice of Life podcast. Don't forget to look up the blog. It's at myslice.wordpress.com. Also the YouTube channel, which is at My Slice Channel. And if you would like to become a patron of the show, go to patreon.com/myslice. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.